If you walked outside and spotted a ship parked in the middle of a desert, you'd probably have one question. How on earth did it end up there? That's the same feeling archaeologists get from some of the discoveries they made. From ancient artwork that shows strange sky beings to the lost golden city of Incas, these are the 15 archaeological finds that shocked researchers. Number 15. Calakmul, the Mayan super city. Back in 1931, botanist Cyrus Lundell wasn't searching for a lost civilization. He was flying over the dense jungles of southern Mexico for the United Fruit Company when two enormous pyramids suddenly rose above the endless green canopy. Nothing on his map suggested a city belonged there, but hidden below was Calakmul, the forgotten capital of the mighty Snake Kingdom, the most powerful empire of the classic Maya world. Archaeologists eventually mapped more than 6,700 structures and discovered 117 carved stelae, more than any other Maya site. Ancient inscriptions revealed that Calakmul controlled a vast network of allied kingdoms stretching across much of the Maya world and even defeated its greatest rival, Tikal, leaving the once powerful city silent for more than a century. But here's the mystery. When the Spanish reached the Maya centuries later, Calakmul had vanished so completely that not a single legend, place name, or oral tradition remembered it. So, how does the greatest Maya capital simply disappear from human memory without leaving behind even a whisper? Number 14. Ars Notoria well. There are many ancient books that promise legendary knowledge, but this one promises something far more ambitious. According to legend, anyone who studies the Ars Notoria can strengthen their memory, sharpen their understanding, and master subjects that normally take years to learn. It's an extraordinary claim, yet the manuscript has fascinated readers for centuries. Although commonly associated with the Lesser Key of Solomon, the work traces its roots much further back. Most historians believe the surviving Latin version was compiled during the early 17th century, drawing heavily from texts written in the 13th century, while some prayers appear to be even older. Nobody knows who first wrote it. Tradition credits King Solomon himself, though there is no historical evidence to support that belief. Unlike many grimoires concerned with summoning spirits or performing rituals, the Ars Notoria focuses on wisdom, learning, and the hidden potential of the human mind. Whether anyone ever gained the remarkable abilities it promises is another question entirely, but the manuscript continues to blur the line between medieval scholarship, religious devotion, and the supernatural. Is it strange? Number 13. Supine terracotta figure. Terracotta soldiers are famous all over the world. Mention them and almost everyone thinks of Emperor Qin Shi Huang's enormous underground army guarding his tomb. But among more than 8,000 figures discovered there, one looks as though it wandered in from an entirely different story. Instead of standing in formation beside the soldiers, this unusual statue lies flat on its back with one leg crossed over the other. Archaeologists simply call it the supine figure, and nothing else like it has ever been found inside the mausoleum. One explanation is that it represents an acrobat or entertainer, placed there because the emperor was expected to enjoy music, performances, and leisure even after death. That idea certainly fits ancient Chinese beliefs. The puzzling part is why there's only one. If entertainers were considered essential in the afterlife, you would expect more than a single performer inside one of the largest burial complexes ever built. More than 2,000 years later, this lonely figure still stands apart, or rather, lies apart from every other statue surrounding it, and nobody can fully explain why. Number 12. Paititi. The Golden City. When the Spanish captured the last Inca strongholds, they expected to seize the greatest treasure ever gathered in South America. Instead, they found nothing. The gold that had filled Cusco for centuries had vanished. According to Inca tradition, it had already been carried far beyond the Andes to a place the conquerors could never reach. That place became known as Paititi. Unlike the legend of El Dorado, Paititi wasn't described as a myth. Old Spanish accounts, Jesuit records, and indigenous traditions all pointed toward the same destination, somewhere deep inside the jungles of southeastern Peru. In 2001, Italian researcher Mario Poglia uncovered a forgotten 1600 manuscript in the Vatican archives describing a stone city decorated with gold and silver east of the Andes, complete with recognizable rivers and landmarks. Then, in 2009, explorer Thierry Jamin reported finding what appeared to be a sealed stone entrance in the Madre de Dios rainforest. His requests to excavate were rejected 3 separate times. Whether Paititi still exists remains unknown, but the silence surrounding it has never disappeared. Number 11. The Wandjina Sky Beings. Australia's Kimberley region is home to one of the longest continuous artistic traditions on Earth. For thousands of years, Aboriginal communities have repainted the same sacred figures generation after generation, following strict rules that forbid changing even the smallest detail. These figures are known as the Wandjina, and one feature immediately stands out: they have no mouths. According to the elders, that was intentional. The Wandjina are powerful sky beings, and if they were ever painted with mouths, they could unleash rain, storms, and destruction upon the land. British explorer George Gray first described the paintings in 1838, while later surveys documented more than 260 Wandjina sites across the Kimberley. The figures have large oval eyes, rounded heads, white bodies, and halos representing lightning and spiritual power. Dating suggests the tradition stretches back at least 4,000 years, although Aboriginal oral history says it is far older. Similar round-headed figures also appear in ancient rock art from Algeria, India, and Japan. So, was it just a coincidence or something beyond our knowledge? Number 10. The medieval sealskin manuscripts books have been covered with leather for centuries, so no one expected these medieval volumes to be any different. Then scientists took a closer look. A collection of books from a Cistercian monastery in France, all dating to the 12th and 13th centuries, turned out not to be bound in deer or boar hide as everyone had assumed. DNA testing revealed something far more surprising. The covers came from seals, including harbor, harp, and bearded seals that lived hundreds of miles away around Scotland, Greenland, and Scandinavia. 43 books were made this way, and tiny seal hairs still trapped in the bindings earned them the nickname Hairy Books. The monastery sits far from the sea, making the discovery even more intriguing. Those skins had to travel through a vast network of merchants long before they reached central France. This book cover became evidence of trade routes stretching across northern Europe, showing that medieval communities were linked far more closely than historians once imagined. Number 9. Roman-era lion medallions. Most ancient tombs contain objects that archaeologists expect to find. This one didn't. While digging a Roman-era burial in Israel, researchers found a stack of bronze medallions decorated with carefully crafted lion heads. They had been placed together inside a single tomb beside human remains, glass vessels, and an iron nail, while the surrounding graves contained nothing similar. Small rings attached to each medallion suggest they were once fastened to something made of wood, perhaps a coffin that disappeared centuries ago. Others believe they may have served a more symbolic purpose, protecting the deceased on the journey into the afterlife. Both ideas remain possible because no written explanation survived. The craftsmanship itself hints that the person buried there held an important position within the local community. Lions had represented strength, authority, and protection throughout the Roman world for generations, so their presence was certainly intentional. The medallions answered one question about who was buried there, but left an even bigger one behind: why were they found only in this single tomb? Number 8. The Ubaid reptilian figurines. Long before the Sumerians built the world's first great cities, another culture had already settled southern Mesopotamia. Archaeologists call them the Ubaid, and among the temples they left behind were dozens of clay figurines unlike anything else from the ancient world. First identified at Tel al-Ubaid in the early 20th century and later recovered from sites such as Ur and Eridu, the figures share the same unusual appearance. Their heads are long and narrow, their eyes resemble dark slits, and their faces end in pointed, almost reptilian snouts. Some are standing, others are seated, and several show mothers nursing infants that possess the same distinctive features. That detail has always stood out because it suggests these weren't people wearing masks, but beings portrayed exactly as the artists intended. Archaeologist Joan Oates noted how consistent the figures remained across hundreds of miles and nearly 1,000 years. Most scholars interpret them as fertility or underworld deities, but no one has explained why this strange design appeared complete from the very start and hardly changed afterward. Number 7. Aristotle's second book of Poetics, Aristotle's Poetics, shaped the way the world thinks about storytelling. But what most people don't realize is that we only have half of it. Around 335 BC, he wrote the first book explaining why tragedy affects us so deeply. That manuscript survived and became one of the most influential works ever written on literature. The second book didn't. Ancient writers, including Proclus and later Arabic scholars, confirmed that it existed and dealt with comedy instead. According to one theory, Aristotle argued that laughter could be just as important to human nature as grief, giving comedy the same philosophical weight as tragedy. If that's true, it would have challenged centuries of thinking that treated serious subjects as inherently more valuable. The book was still known during the early Middle Ages before disappearing without explanation. Nobody knows whether it simply stopped being copied or whether someone decided it wasn't worth preserving. Either way, one missing manuscript has left scholars debating Aristotle's complete philosophy for well over 1,000 years, with no sign that the missing half will ever return. Number 6. Chenko Temple. The Inca left behind many remarkable monuments, but Chenko has always stood apart from the rest. Cut directly into a massive limestone outcrop outside Cusco, the entire sanctuary was carved from a single piece of rock rather than built stone by stone. The name Chenko means zigzag, a reference to the winding channels cut across its surface. What flowed through those channels is still unknown. Some researchers believe they carried sacrificial blood during religious ceremonies. Others think they were designed for water or chicha, the corn beer used in important Inca rituals. Without written records, none of those ideas can be confirmed. Beneath the rock lies a chamber containing carved niches and an altar, suggesting the site played an important ceremonial role, possibly connected with burials or mummification. The Spanish conquest erased much of the knowledge surrounding places like Chenko, leaving only the stone behind. Number 5. Obsidian arrowheads. Volcanoes and Alberta have almost nothing in common, which is why this discovery surprised archaeologists. Across the province, researchers have recovered obsidian arrowheads and spear points made from volcanic glass, even though no natural obsidian exists anywhere nearby. That immediately raised a question. If the stone didn't come from Alberta, how did it get there? Obsidian forms when lava cools rapidly, meaning every artifact can be traced back to a volcanic source. Scientists are now comparing these ancient tools with known obsidian deposits across North America, hoping to identify where each piece began its journey. Early results suggest some may have traveled hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of miles before finally reaching the people who used them. That paints a very different picture of ancient North America than many once imagined. Rather than isolated communities living only within their own territories, the evidence points toward long-distance trade, shared hunting grounds, and connections stretching across an enormous landscape centuries before written history reached the continent. Number 4. Codex Sinaiticus. It's remarkable how one ancient book can reshape our understanding of history. The Codex Sinaiticus is one of the oldest surviving copies of the Bible and the earliest nearly complete manuscript of the New Testament ever discovered. Written in Greek around the 4th century, it has survived for more than 1,700 years despite spending much of that time forgotten. The manuscript came back to public attention during the 19th century at St. Catherine's Monastery on Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, although its earlier history remains largely unknown. Today, the codex itself is scattered across 4 countries. Most of its pages are preserved in the British Library, while others remain in Germany, Russia, and the monastery where it was rediscovered. In 1933, the Soviet government sold the largest portion to Britain for a sum worth roughly $7 million today. Beyond its age, the manuscript is invaluable because it allows scholars to compare later biblical copies with one of Christianity's earliest surviving texts, revealing how the scriptures were transmitted through the centuries. Now let's head over to number 3. The Hermetic originals. Long before the famous Corpus Hermeticum reached Renaissance Europe, ancient writers described a far larger collection that has almost completely vanished. Around 190 CE, Clement of Alexandria watched an Egyptian religious procession and carefully recorded what the priests carried. According to him, there were 42 sacred books attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, covering everything from astronomy and astrology to sacred law, music, writing, and the knowledge of the gods. Today, only a small portion survives. The Corpus Hermeticum contains just 18 philosophical texts, leaving the practical works Clement described nowhere to be found. That gap has puzzled historians for generations. Were those missing books written only in Egyptian and never translated into Greek? Did they disappear when pagan temples were closed? Or were they destroyed during later campaigns against ancient religious traditions? No one knows. What's certain is that Renaissance thinkers believed the surviving Hermetic writings preserved some of humanity's oldest wisdom. If 18 books had that much influence on philosophy and science, it's difficult not to wonder what the missing 24 might have contained. Number 2. La Roche-Cotard masks. Sometimes the biggest archaeological arguments begin with the smallest objects. That happened in 1975 when researchers working near France's Loire River uncovered what is now called the Mask of La Roche-Cotard. At first glance, it looks surprisingly human. A shaped piece of flint forms the face, while fragments of bone placed through natural openings resemble a pair of eyes staring back at whoever picks it up. Supporters believe the arrangement was intentional and may represent one of the earliest known examples of Neanderthal symbolic art. Others aren't convinced. They argue that natural fractures and chance placement created the appearance without any human design. The debate has continued ever since because there is very little else from the site pointing toward artistic or ritual behavior. If the object really was shaped by Neanderthals, it suggests they were capable of abstract thought much closer to our own than once believed. If not, then one oddly shaped stone has managed to fool the whole world. Number 1. Hayumarka. The God's Gate A doorway is supposed to lead somewhere. That's why Hayumarka has puzzled people for decades. Carved into a massive cliff in the Peruvian Andes is what looks like a perfectly shaped stone doorway, except there's nothing behind it. There are no chambers, no tunnels, and no hidden passages, just solid rock. Locals call it the Gate of the Gods, and over the years it has inspired stories about lost civilizations and even dimensional portals. Those claims have never been supported by evidence, but they don't explain why the monument exists in the first place. Nearby sits a 3-level altar carved into blue stone, adding another layer to the mystery. Some researchers have even noticed that the monument's proportions closely match mathematical ratios found in Egypt's bent pyramid, including measurements associated with musical harmonics. Whether that comparison means anything is still debated. Well, if you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Take care, and we'll see you very soon.